So here's the mountain that goes on the back side of the Badlands layout. I used a piece of foam here and a little bit on the back side as well to kind of give it a bigger base. But I'm going to go ahead and try and do the original style on this, which involves using the wire screen method. And I'm going to give it a shot here and we'll take a video of that. And so I tried to design this so that it would match the contours of the other mountain, the original mountain that's on the back. But this piece is, as you can see, portable, really lightweight. And I'm going to apply the mesh, and then we'll put plaster on top just like they did with the original mountains. So wish me luck. Okay, we've cut out a piece of this wire screen. Hard to see there, so it's not exactly to fit, but it was like a scrap piece that I had. But my goal is to mold it to the foam, but then also take it and if I can grab my stapler, we're just going to staple it here to the board. So what I'm looking at here is I'll be able to match this up, attach it down on either side, and what we're going to get, if I can kind of make little indentions and staple those, we're going to get something similar to the old mountain on the other side. It's going to be thin, but it'll come out a little wider, and then the rest of this actually will all be covered with plaster. So let's give it a shot. So I realize I'm not really getting my face into the video here, but I'm using kind of a heavy duty stapler here. There's some that are smaller and we'll use regular kind of staples, or you can just use a regular stapler and just pound it in on the side. But here we go. We're going to see if we can make use this screen like we would maybe like a plaster cloth, and we're going to staple it down to this Celotex board. Well, there was a miss. Let's try that again. So there's one, two there, and we'll start maneuvering it on the other side here. And the staples aren't really liking to stick here. Just do this whole front side. Okay, well that's the start. So what we need to do now is rearrange it and make the contours. So I have to be real careful with these because obviously, I mean, the staples won't stick in the Celotex too easy. So let's go ahead and put another one in here on the end of the mountain to kind of hold it in place. And over here. And we'll just work our way around the back and kind of pull it tight against the form if we can. This one's a little bit difficult to use, so I need to go close. And I'll try that again. This is very difficult. It might be better to use the plaster cloth in here. I'll tell you what, let's try stapling it to the foam. And that doesn't work either. So, well, we'll just keep trying. We're just going to staple it down to the edges back here. And then we'll work this edge over here. We have kind of a busy edge that's going to go around the corner here. this one needs to suck down onto here. And we'll just staple these over to the other side. If they overlap a little bit, we're just going to go with it. Actually, this one, we're going to do a little improv over here. This mountain would be really nice if it goes down the hill here to the back. Maybe like this. Try that again. And I think I'm out of staples. So, we'll have to find some more staples, and then we'll just kind of work these around, and this is going to be our form. So, I'm not sure if I'm liking this too well, but I think I'm going to go with it, and we're just going to see what we get. So I finished stapling around the main edge of the board, and I had to put quite a few in there. In fact, I'll put another one. I found some more staples. These are probably a little tall, 12 millimeter, but they don't go all the way through the or the Celotex board. But they're just good old T50s, and they're working okay. So we'll put a couple more in here. Now, if you're weighing cost, using T50 staples versus just laying a bunch of plaster on there, there might be a cost difference in that. But this is the original way they did it. To some extent. They would have had a cutout piece of plywood that would have been underneath it there, and that they would have been able to, I've seen pictures, and I'll show you on the video, but you can staple right to the top of like a piece of plywood. So this is going to be a little more difficult, but what I'm going to do now is just do some trimming. We're going to trim off the edge here. I'll just work from this side over. There we go. And we have a little leftover piece we can attach somewhere else. Okay. So I'll probably have to do a little bit more stapling down on the main parts, and then, oh, here's some more back here I need to go ahead and trim. But while I do that, I'm going to go ahead and figure out a way to crunch these mountains down a little bit and how to staple them together. So to make this work properly, I'm afraid I'm going to have to do some cutting on the inside of here. Now, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to be able to make it cinch down and then be able to secure it. But my initial goal, I'm going to try to do an incision around here, and then that way I can suck it down onto the mountaintop and tuck it in on itself. And with any luck, I can either secure it down here or back here, or I've got an alternate method. Somebody suggested for screen repair, you can use clear silicone sealer. So I may give that a try, but I'll probably involve pinning the screen, and we'll give it a try if that's what we need to do. So I'm going to go ahead and make a cut, and let's just see what happens. We'll pull this up. A little bit down the front. And maybe we can tuck this in just a little bit. I'm going to go all the way down the front, actually. big thing here, you never know how it's going to turn out. But all you can do is try. So if I can secure this here, it's not bad, but it's still not quite sucking down the way it should. So I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to finish all this off. I'm going to keep going with it, and then we'll just see what I can do, and then I might try the silicone sealer method. So I came up with a kind of an idea that I cut it, you know, vertically along here, but then I also made a cut along the back side on the back of the mountain. So I was able to bend down the form. Now it leaves a pretty big gap here. So what I'll have to do is I'll most likely take one of our other pieces and then just secure that on there like this. And that'll cover it up. It should be something like that, maybe a little larger piece. So I'm going to show you what I did using this little one right here. So basically I just made my little incision, cut down the back side a little, and then we're going to go up and down like a little cross. And from this point, we just fold the screen over. And since it's wire, it holds itself pretty good. It wants to spring back. And so if we spin this one here and just press it in, there. So we have a nice curve. It's not perfect, but it's also going to be covered up with Sculptamold instead of asbestos plaster. So we'll go from there, and I'm going to keep experimenting. I'm going to do this other side, and we'll just see what happens. So we'll give it the cross here. Cut it down the back side, maybe the front a little more, and then up the back sides here. I'm going to do this left-handed, it's just which is unusual for me. Right there, and then we'll come back down. I know you can't see this, but it's easier for me to get this side like that. And then we're just going to take a little more off here. And I'm just going to fold this down into itself. Give it a little bend. You can take a little more off the top. And then once again, fold it down onto itself. And there we have it. So it's not too bad. We have the curves. This side, all we're going to do is just take a little bit off of here, and then we can curl it back on itself, just like so. This one still has enough shape. I think we might put a piece of screen over it just because that's what they would have done. And there you have it. So taking a look, I'll probably put another piece here, a piece there, cover this, and I've got a mountain for him. So after doing this, it only took like just a few minutes to do this, but the screen is pokey. If this was plywood, it would be a lot easier to secure the screen. And if you look at the old mountains, you'll see where they stapled in and they would fold the screen and staple it. So this is, I don't know, I kind of like this, so we'll see how it turns out with the plaster on it. I'm going to leave this one go. Okay, so here I have the extra piece of screen that I had cut off earlier from the base. So I'm going to go ahead, and I already kind of formed it, but I'm going to lay it over the top like so and tuck it in there. And I think what I'm trying to do, or going to do, is the silicone sealant method. So I'm just going to secure this screen, but actually, it's actually very good at just holding to itself, which is very interesting. So this screen, I mean, so here we have it, and it's actually, it's holding right there. If I were to take this and put some plaster over the top just to hold it in place, I think it would be just fine. But what I'm going to do, I'll take some of this sealer, and we're just going to run it along the edge. And so you go back down. We'll have to let it dry. Hopefully it'll stick long enough for me to keep it together. It's actually doing pretty good. Kind of smooth it on there. Cover up some of these little knobs. See if it's going to work for me here. And we're just going to fill that in. You can kind of see it smoothing out a bit. It wants to pull off down here. So we'll just mush it in. There's a little hole right there, but I think that'll cover up nicely. I'm going to smooth that up against the, push it through the screen. And then we're going to call that good. We're going to let that dry overnight. We'll cover it with plaster tomorrow. So it's not very pretty looking, but here we have the, and I got my fingers all gooey, but yeah, I think that silicone's going to hold it. Once it hardens up, we'll see how it does in the morning. And then the only important thing here is just having that underbase that, you know, so we'll have plaster over the top. And once we have the plaster on the top connected with the Celotex ground, it's not going to go anywhere. So give it a try. As one last little thing I wanted to show you, I put a end cap piece on here, and I siliconed its edges. But what I found is I put a couple of nails in here. So I've got a nail here. Smaller nails would probably work better, but I had these laying on the bench right next to me. And for me, this is a brand new process. So, like, you know, like right now, I'm already losing some of my silicone sealer on the backside of this. So maybe it's good if I find another nail and stick that in. And so I found that by pinning it, which is a common technique in model railroading, it's going to dry up and it should stay in the right position. So I'm thinking if you decide to do this in a traditional manner, and some of the feedback that I received on restoring the Badlands layout, everyone wanted me to do the original way with the plywood and the screen. This is a very difficult way to do scenery. I will just tell you that right out. Especially on a tight corners and things like that. This would have been so much easier by just stretching out some, you know, plaster cloth and applying it over the top and then making little round edges out of it. So this is it's a difficult method. I'm doing it because I wanted to try it, and I've never done it before. This is the first time that I've ever used this screen. So when you're watching this video, bear with me as I progress through the process. But hopefully these little tips that I'm doing, and by watching me either mess up or be successful, this will help you if you decide to restore a American Flyer mountain or a tunnel on your display layout, or just make your own for your own railroad system. So if I have to recap, I'd say be willing to cut it, use pins, and silicone it together with silicone sealer. I think it's going to work.